Everyone, I wanted to make this video specifically for the members area people. You may have just seen me upload a video maybe in the last day, depending on when you watch the content, of me talking and showing how I created all of this, and more importantly, just doing a tutorial using stock photography automation. I think a lot of people are using the tool, but they're not aware about this one feature, and this is the feature that kind of helps improve rejection rates. Look, rejection rates are nothing we can have full control over, right? At the end of the day, Adobestock is the controller of those specific rejection rates. However, we can improve our chances. We can improve our chances to get our images not only submitted but approved. And what it comes down to is understanding the algorithm on Adobestock. So if you're familiar, Adobestock right now has I don't want to say billions. It had probably billions of images submitted to it with time, right? It's fair to say maybe about 5 billion images. Currently, it's sitting at under a billion, okay, images on the platform. The images that are on the platform are approved for a reason. Either A, Adobestock thinks that it will make them money, or B, there's that image doesn't necessarily exist, or there's a certain type of image that may not necessarily exist, or it's a combination of things like title and tags, etc., and that's why it's approved. And so if we look at the vice versa of that viewpoint, it perfectly explains why some images are rejected, which means that an image is going to be rejected if Adobestock doesn't think that it will make them money, which really means Adobestock will reject an image if that image or its likeness already exists on the platform. Or, not just or, but and, if the image has some sort of IP attached to it, some sort of trademark, some sort of thing that could hurt them or decrease the amount of money they're making. If you think about it, Adobestock in general is a money printer for the Adobe Corporation. Of course, they have expenses. There's no question about that, and they have a lot of them. However, it's the one thing that they can kind of just take that money and just bank it. Why? Because you have their products like their suites, right? There's the Adobe Stock Suite, the Creative Suite, not the Adobe Stock Suite, excuse me, their Creative Suite with all their different Illustrator and Premiere and all these different products is not exactly 100% predictable, right? They do have churn rates, they do have customers jumping off, and they have a lot of piracy that they have to deal with. So it's just another way for them to make money. So what they're really doing is, if their goal is to make money completely off of the Adobestock platform, which is nothing more than just selling images with the rights to use that image, then what are they really doing? They're escaping any form of IP or trademarks. That's number one. And number two, they want to make sure that the image is good enough to be bought. And number three, the image has to, there can't be too many copies on the platform. Now, they probably have a threshold to that, right? So, like, let's say for cat pictures, right, they have a certain threshold. Those numbers are internal. They won't tell us. For images of walls, they have probably have a certain threshold to that. For an image of a flower, right, they have a certain threshold to that. There's only so many copies that can go on the site before they reject them and they say, hey, we have too much, okay? But how can we add this idea or this coefficient, let's say, of variable? Meaning, how can we add this concept of things that are different from image to image to image? Well, we can do that from our tags. We can do that from our titles, because we know that Adobe right now, their main source of determining if an image is similar or different is not by the quality of the image, but it is by the differentiation of the tags and the titles. That's what Adobe determines the characteristics of the very image. Which, if you explain that to any normal person, they would be like, well, why wouldn't they just look at the image and compare? And the answer is simple, because there's billions of photos that are being submitted. They can't employ enough people to sit down and compare image to image to image to image and so on and so forth. They can't do that, because then if that happens, nobody would have a portfolio of over 50 images, because it would take centuries to do the reviews. That's number one. Number two, they would have to hire an empire of staff. I'm not talking about 5,000 people. They would need to hire 790,000 people that would just sit down all day, every day, review images, and review them quickly, which is impossible if they're reviewing it based on the quality of the image. So what are they doing? They're doing an algorithmic review, which purely is just mechanics of software. That's all it is. There's no person behind this that's comparing the tags between one image and another. And what they're seeing is if certain images have more copies of certain keywords in the tags compared to those other images that have more copies, they're going to say, hey, these two images are deemed similar. Let's just make sure we don't approve the newer image with the exact same tags, because why? It already exists. There's nothing different about it. Now, it's possible that there's multiple phases of review. The first phase might be purely a keyword-based review, such as what? To check for IP, to check for trademark. If you add the word, for example, Coca-Cola in your tags, or Mercedes or Lamborghini, that could be rejected right off the bat, or going through a rejection process right off the bat, because it fails phase one, which is IP, trademarks, and all kinds of things like that. The second thing could be a presence test. Remember, we talked about keyword density, seeing if those tags exist in accumulation in other images, doing that presence test. The third thing might be finally a human quality review image, just to make sure everything is fine from an image test. They could also do a pixelated test, where every single image, the pixels of the colors are reviewed, and making sure that the combination of those pixels and the colors are not the same as similar other images, because they can determine algorithmically if one image is the same of the other just by a pure pixel scan. So, guys, what we have to realize is Adobe's looking for variation. The whole point that this software was created is for the variation. If we look at here, not normal mode, but supernova and time warp, it takes the prompt that you create and it diverts it. It changes it, right? Like, for example, right here, this prompt right here is what I typed in. Abstract colored wallpaper on a cement house wall. Minimalism concrete. It took that prompt and it converted into something completely entirely different. And you could actually see the prompt that it converted to in my last video. And here's like a little hint about it right here. It converted into something completely different. So why do we need a software or an AI to help us create these completely different radical prompts? Because that radicalness creates variability, and variability means things are different, and if things are different, that increases our approval rates. That's what it comes down to. If you create some wacky, crazy photo and you submit it to Adobe Stock, and you use some words that maybe aren't usually there, and assuming the spelling is correct and everything is correct from that side, you have a high chance that that image could potentially be accepted. Remember, we can't control and we can't guarantee that all images will be accepted, but we can see that there is a chance for improvement, and this is the strategy that I'm personally using. But yeah, you could do that. So we laid out this information in the past. This is just the solution. As far as Adobe right now, guys, what I tend to see is Adobe is actually lightening their stance a little bit. Things are getting a little bit better. I don't know if you guys can agree with me on that, but that's what I tend to see. I tend to see that the people who are in it for the hype are dying off, and they're not really interested in keeping, going at it. But I see the ones who are consistent, and the ones who are still at it, they're still making money towards it. And actually, from my point of view, I could be wrong, but rejection rates have improved. Acceptance rates have improved. Everything has been improving right now in the Adobe Stock world for my accounts. I don't know about you guys, but I'm seeing it. So I'm seeing a revival here from their stringent control. For me, guys, the market is never something that I'm worried about with Adobe Stock, because there's always going to be that person who decides not to, maybe not the person, but a corporation. There's always going to be corporations who have extra money on their balance sheets that go throw $100,000 towards marketing. And part of that $100,000 budget, they're going to give to some employee on a lower level, $3,000, to go to create content or whatever, and then that person is going to use that $3,000, part of it, to an Adobe Stock license, and then go